So, these are going to be some of the most important lessons you will ever hear in your life this week, and some of the ones I'm most happy to teach. Because as a teacher, there's a few things that you're trying to do. First and foremost, I certainly hope, are trying to make a difference in your students' lives, and you're trying to make life so much better for them. That's key. But you need to understand the very serious nature of handling your finances in order to become the best teacher you can. And some of those you teach are those in your own family and those in your own community. So you need to be able to manage money and do money in such a way that it reflects your goals. Most of which of mine were building a house, having a wife and a bunch of dogs running around, and going fishing in really pretty places. Now, how do you make that happen? First things first, let's make sure you pass the PRAXIS test and make sure you understand all the mathematical material going on. And then we'll get into the meat of the lessons for not only today, but also for next week. This is a really big week and a cool week and a great week. So, some PRAXIS prep. Let's get rocking on it. We'll talk a few different things today. I should have changed this. No solving equations, but there will be Pythagorean theorem, probability, percent, statistics, and so on. Okay, little stop and start. So we got our rectangle that we have drawn out here. Got our diagonal, which is 13 inches long, and the height is 5 inches long. What's the perimeter of that rectangle? Now, you've done this a few times, and this might be the last week that you're going to see this. So, solving for n, Pythagorean theorem, leg squared plus leg squared is hypotenuse squared. 5 squared plus n squared is 13 squared. 25 and n squared is 169. Subtracting the 25, n squared is 144. Square rooting it, n is 12. So the missing side is 12. And I've got the left, which is 5, the bottom, which is 12, the right, which is 5, and the top, which is 12. Add them all up. Perimeter is 34 inches. Let's go. Little stop and start. Okay, so what's the probability you get an ace? So a deck of cards includes 13 clubs, 13 diamonds, 13 hearts, and 13 spades. And there's an ace of clubs, an ace of diamonds, an ace of hearts, and an ace of spades, for those who don't play a lot of cards. So altogether, there are 4 aces in a deck. So a probability is defined as the number of ways to do that event, which in this case is get an ace, and there are 4 of those out of the total number of possibilities, which is a 52-card deck. So 4 aces out of 52 possible cards means 4 out of 52, which is 1/13. Next up, 2 dice are thrown simultaneously. What's the probability of getting a sum of a 3 or a 5? Go ahead. All right, so as Mr. Braze told me years ago, we're going to create what we call a dice roller's idiot chart, because there are 2 dice and you're getting a sum. So here's my 2 dice possibilities. First dice 1 through 6 on the top, and then down the side 1 through 6. And I just add them up because they're talking about sums. 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 is 3, down here 3 and 2 is 5, etc. Now, how many have a sum of 3 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 out of the 36 have a sum of a 3 or a 5, and that reduces to 1/6. All right, let's go to the next one. Charter bus average speed is 65 miles per hour while the car goes 75 miles per hour. If the bus and car both depart the same place at the same time to date, how much further ahead of the bus is the car after 8 hours? Ignore the choices. The choices have nothing to do with this. Just calculate it. Go ahead. Okay, so the bus goes 65 miles an hour for 8 hours. Killing off the hours there. That gives me a total of 65 times 8, 520 miles. The car goes 75 miles an hour for 8 hours. Killing off the hours. 75 times 8 is 600 miles. So, what's the difference? How much farther ahead is it? 600 minus 520 is 80 miles. Now, you could have also looked at it this way. If one car is going 75 miles an hour and the bus is going 65, then he's going 10 miles an hour more, and he's doing it for 8 hours. So 10 times 8 is 80. And it's one of the things I've mentioned many times. I love this about math, that it doesn't matter which perspective you come at it from, you always arrive at a correct solution. So whereas if there is a problem in the land of politics, you can get some people going crazy with the yelling and the hollering. In art, some people can say, this is, appreciate this, it's beautiful. And other people can go, what is this all about? In math, you do not get discussions like that. You arrive at a definite conclusion here. All right, what's the percent increase in cars sold in 2005 when compared to those sold in 2004? Go ahead. Remember, stop and start. Okay, so the percent increase is the absolute difference over the reference or the original amount. So the absolute difference would be 2005 is 1817, 2004 is 1580 over the reference amount. So we're comparing it to the one sold in 2004. So 2004 is the reference amount. So that's 237 over 1580, which is 0.15, which is better known as 15%. Second choice down there. All right, so that brings us to the end of our praxis problems. Have a good one.